Software development, right. It's like the engine under the hood of, well, pretty much everything these days. But what happens when AI and this whole global workforce kind of like jump into the driver's seat? That's what we're diving into today.
We're talking AI actually writing software. Like, what's that even mean? And then on top of that, you've got this surge in tech talent all over the world. It's changing who builds what and honestly where.
So to help us, wrap our heads around all this, we've got expert speaker. I mean, honestly, you really seem to have a handle on this whole crazy changing world of tech.
Oh, it's definitely a wild ride, that's for sure. I think even for someone like me, the speed at which things are changing is just mind-blowing.
The article we're looking at today mentioned almost half of developers are already using AI in their work.
That's wild, right? I mean, did anything in particular, like, jump out at you when you were going through all of this research?
Honestly, it was the big names, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. They're all in on AI coding.
Yeah.
Like, not just dipping their toes, but diving in head first. These aren't just some research projects, you know what I mean? We're talking tools that developers are using every day.
It's really incredible. Like, the whole industry woke up one morning and said, yep, AI is the future. We got to be a part of it.
But it's not just those big companies. PitchBook, they track this stuff, and they found over 250 AI coding startups.
Yeah.
It's like a gold rush. But what are these tools, like, actually doing? I mean, the article mentioned one called Copilot.
Yeah.
Is it as futuristic as it sounds?
It's getting there. Imagine, like, you're coding and you've got this AI partner looking over your shoulder. They're suggesting code, catching errors, even translating between languages, like Python to Java. Boom, that's Copilot.
Wow.
And it's not alone. Google's in the game, Meta, Amazon, even Apple, they're all developing their own versions.
It's like we're on the edge of this massive change in how software gets made. But like any new tool, there got to be some downsides, right? What are some of the potential downsides the article mentioned?
Well, AI, right? It learns from what you feed it. So if it's trained on, let's say, buggy code or code with security flaws, guess what?
Uh-oh.
It might start spitting out code with the same problems.
And it can even generate inefficient code because, again, that's what it's learned from the data. It's a work in progress. We're seeing that play out.
So not a perfect coding utopia just yet.
Not quite. But, man, is it advancing quickly. Like, we're already seeing this next generation of AI coding tools. Anthropic has one, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and of course OpenAI keeps upping their game with ChatGPT. They're claiming these tools can do much more complex stuff now, like debugging really intricate code.
It's mind-blowing how fast things change. It makes you wonder, like, what does this even mean for developers in the long run? Especially with the other big trend that article brought up, globalization. Is India really on track to become, like, the place for developers?
The data certainly points that way. And it's not just about cost savings anymore, though that's definitely a factor. We're talking incredibly skilled developers in these emerging markets who are contributing to some really major projects.
Like that Microsoft Teams example. That was a good one.
Right. They weren't just handed some tiny piece of the puzzle. They helped build a platform that people use globally.
Huge. It feels like those geographical boundaries are just, I don't know, dissolving, especially with remote work becoming so common.
Absolutely. Companies can tap into this worldwide pool of talent, and skilled people anywhere can contribute to these really cool projects no matter where they live. Everybody wins.
Okay, so we have these AI tools that are changing how we write software, and we have talented people all over the world connecting and collaborating. What does this even mean for the average person? Will coding even exist as a job in the future? Will everything be automated and overseas? Like, is this the end of software development as we know it?
It's kind of like we're wading into, I don't know, some sci-fi movie, right?
Yeah.
Where the robots are taking over everything.
Right, it's a common fear. But, history shows us tech usually doesn't work out like that. Remember all the, like, freaking out when ATMs first showed up?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone thought bank tellers would be out of a job. Gone.
Totally. And it did change things, but tellers are still around.
Exactly.
It's just they focus on those more complex tasks now, the stuff ATMs can't handle.
And the customer service aspect.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, these AI coding tools are like a big deal for sure. They're going to shake things up, definitely. But they'll probably change the game rather than, end it entirely.
Okay, so less robots taking over, more like robots giving developers superpowers.
Now you're getting it. Think about it. A master crafts person, right? They use their tools to make something amazing, intricate. AI could be that tool for developers.
Interesting.
It frees them up from all that tedious, repetitive stuff so they can focus on the really creative, complex problems.
So it's like the really valuable skills will be knowing how to use these tools, understanding their limits, and then tackling those really big coding challenges.
100%. The article even talked about how junior developer roles are changing.
Oh, really? In what way?
They're going to be expected to handle way more complexity, way faster, right out of the gate. Which leads to a whole other question. What's going to set entry-level developers apart in this new environment?
It's like everyone in software, no matter how long you've been doing it, needs to level up.
It's both exciting and like a little intimidating all at the same time.
For sure.
But it's also a huge opportunity to like totally redefine what it means to be a developer. And it's not just about individuals either. It's about how entire companies, countries even, adapt.
Oh, that's interesting. And speaking of countries, can we circle back to globalization for a sec?
Yeah.
The article we've been talking about, it focused on India.
Yeah.
Like, they could be a software development superpower.
Mm.
What are the bigger implications of that?
Well, on the economic side, it's massive. It's not even just about lower wages anymore, although that is part of it. Indian software developers are getting recognized for how good they are, how skilled they are.
Like that Microsoft Teams example, that really stuck with me.
Exactly. That wasn't some small side project. They helped build a platform that's used by, like, everyone.
Globally, it's incredible.
And as India's tech industry keeps growing, we're going to see even more innovation, more competition coming from there. The article even mentioned companies like Infosys. They're landing huge deals for AI and automation services.
So it's not outsourcing the basic coding tasks. It's about who's leading the charge on developing these cutting-edge technologies.
Exactly. It raises some really big questions, too, like who controls this tech? Who benefits from it? What does it mean for the future of work, for everyone?
We're getting into some heavy stuff now, like societal, economic implications, the whole 9 yards. This is a lot to wrap our heads around.
It really is, but it's so important to talk about it. The future of software, it's not set in stone. It's being decided right now by the choices we make, the policies we put in place, the skills we decide are important.
That's a good point. Technology doesn't just exist in a bubble. It's connected to everything. Economics, politics, even just how we live our lives. It's all related.
It really is.
So, okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. AI that writes code, this whole global software scene, and like you said, it's impacting everything. Economies, how we work, it's a lot. If someone listening could only take away one thing from all of this, what would it be?
I think the biggest takeaway is just how much is still up in the air. The future of software development, it's dynamic, there are a ton of unknowns, and it's changing constantly. The article was right not to give a simple conclusion. This is anything but simple.
Yeah, no easy answers.
Yeah.
And we can't just, hit pause on the world while we sort it all out.
Exactly. It's about staying informed, being curious, being ready to adapt. I mean, whether you're a coder just starting out or just someone who uses tech every day, this stuff matters.
The only constant is change.
Mm.
I feel like I hear that all the time in tech, but honestly, it's more exciting than anything. The idea that we might have tools that help us build software faster, better, maybe even more creatively, it's pretty wild. And the fact that it's all happening on this global scale, that just adds a whole other layer of, complexity and opportunity.
100%. And we can't forget about the human element in all of this. The article made it really clear that even with AI becoming so prominent, human ingenuity, it's still irreplaceable. Developers are going to need to learn to use these tools, master them, and really lean into those uniquely human skills: creativity, problem solving, critical thinking.
So maybe it's not, will AI replace developers, but more like, how can AI help developers do even more?
Now you're getting it. Collaboration, not replacement. We can use AI to make us better, not obsolete. AI as our partner, not our replacement.
And that actually makes me think the article really focused on AI writing code. But if AI can figure that out, what else could it learn? What else could it do? And how do we adapt to that kind of rapid change? It feels like we're just scratching the surface here.
Those are the big questions, right? The ones that keep you up at night. And you know what? I think those questions, they deserve a deep dive of their own.
I think you're right. Until next time, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.